think the additional responsibility with community level data is to have very active conversations about ownership and access, and to set up a balance in the relationship and a way of being able to share power around what is happening in the research process, such that communities recognize that they are fundamental to the research process and that this is about them, and they have every right to help shape what happens to the data, how it is used, and the interpretations that are coming out of their experiences.
And then depending upon a researcher's own epistemological approach or perspective or what type of analysis they're going to be doing, it can also be really valuable to invite the community or some of the community to participate in the data analysis.
The digital story work is working with women who've participated in an interview, and then they want to tell their story in a way that has music and it has pictures or it has video. And so that is often, some women provide permission to share. Dr. Kranza uses them in her classes. We're looking at publishing a digital book, which is exciting, from her Peru project. And so that's one way that we share data openly, and it also provides the opportunity with women to curate what's said and curate what's shared, and not just the story, but like also the visual story. So what is seen with those words and with the music.
I know in one project that I did here in Hamilton, with a collaborator, Suzanne Mills, there were community members that were involved in the data construction, the questionnaire construction, and the data collection. And then before we issued our final report, we also distributed simple kind of summaries of the data to ensure that our interpretation of the survey findings were consistent with what the community members we were working with understood and believed the data to be saying.
I record the conversations and they become part of the data. They become part of the data in which I can go back, whether I usually have a steering committee that I usually go to in relation to, okay, are we asking or focusing on what the community wants? So to me, as I said, for me, it becomes almost my compass.
So one thing that we always do as well is send people the transcript of their interviews, and then they can change it. And it's also a really beautiful way for people to add something that they maybe forgot or think about what they were talking about.
When you talk to communities that have been systematically marginalized, many of them have had very bad experiences with researchers. And so the idea that the products of a bad experience of research would then be perpetuated across further analyses that may even further sort of misrepresent the experiences of a community. I see the reasons why, and I also see the potentials for harm. And to me, the kind of missing link is about community autonomy and ownership of the data.
The concerns of communities and the rights of communities to own data about themselves should by all means take precedence. And as long as you're an ethical, responsible researcher, hopefully if you talk about the ownership and the plans for publications and the plans for the research in advance, you can avoid the types of conflicts that would be most likely to lead a community to kind of cut off access to the data itself.
That if a community owns the data and gets to say, well, that's crap, or this is really true, this speaks to our experience, this gives us some language, or it gives us an understanding of commonalities that is useful, and we would want people to use this data in the future.
I call it conversatorios, which in English is town hall meetings that they don't apply with the work that I do, but they're more in relation to conversatorios. I find that that is, to me, very crucial because it is almost the thermometer in the community in relation to how things that, research questions, I'm told whether I'm on the right path or I'm completely wrong. So that to me, I find it very essential, very important too, because in community, it's about not only the historical memory that you're being exposed to, but also the collective memory, which is also important in relation to the silences, in relation to taking for granted rules or roles. And to me, community data is the basics of what I do and how I work.
If they get to make those choices and decide what gets carried on, then I think, the potential is really powerful, but you would still have to have the researchers be doing that diligent work of what it looks like to do much more intensive metadata than is ever done in quantitative work.
This series is brought to you by SPARC, a Center for Social Research Innovation.